And we're live.
Good evening, families. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to our second virtual orientation. We are glad that you could make it tonight. Before we get started, I want to make sure that we introduce our translation line for any families on the call tonight that need it. We are going to drop it in the chat box for you all so that you can call into the number using the PIN and you will receive translations that way. I'll give us a second to drop that so that you don't miss anything. In the meantime, please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter as a network, Instagram. So if you are not following us, we post a lot of pictures of events and upcoming news on those websites. So please follow those pages as you wait for us to move on. Great. Translation is now in the chat box. So if you need that, please make sure that you dial into that number using the PIN so that you can receive translation services. Also, if you are interested in having live captions, so if I talk a little too fast or you miss something I said, you can go to your captions and subtitles and turn those on. You can refer to the picture on the screen. And if you want to change the language from something other than English, that is also an option for you tonight. I'll give you a second to look at that. I want to make sure that you are all set to not miss any of our great information. And the last announcement before we get started, if you are live here tonight, or if you're watching the recording of this, please make sure that you text the number on the screen, which is 970-460-6388 to confirm your attendance by typing your child's full name. So not your name, parents, type your child's full name so that we know who attended orientation tonight, or if you're watching it later. It's 970-460-6388 and your child's full name. All right, so we are going to kick off tonight with some introductions. I am going to introduce myself. Ms. Davis, our front office manager, is going to introduce herself. We also have some of our founding team on the call tonight. They're not going to introduce themselves, but they are out in the audience for some support. I am Travonda Favorite. I'm the founding school director for DSST Elevate. Some of you may recognize me because I was the founding dean at the Knoll Middle School campus. I still work at the middle school campus. I attended Grambling State University as well as Capella University for my master's. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been in Denver for about almost 3 years now. June will be 3 years, and I moved here to help open the Knoll Middle School campus. Super excited to be moving up with you all, families and students, and the opportunity to found our high school campus. And I'm going to pass it to Miss Amanda Davis.
Great. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Amanda Davis. I am the office manager for DSST Elevate Northeast High School. I previously worked for a couple of elementary schools in DPS in the far northeast area. I'm also a part of the Montbello and Green Valley Ranch community. Some of you may already know me or recognize me from the community. I have 3 kids. One is a junior at Northeast Early College. I have 2 students that attend our Knoll campus, which is our middle school. One is in 6th grade and the other is in 8th grade, and she is a part of the founding 8th grade class that is moving up to Elevate with us. I am super pumped for our new building. It's going to be amazing, and the opportunity to get to work with all of you. Again, thank you for joining our orientation.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis. Before we get started, I do want to say we will have time for questions and answers at the end. Please use the question and answers chat box. Also, pause on questions because there may be something that we answer throughout the presentation, which is why we wait until the end, because your question may get answered throughout the evening. So we're going to start off with our DSST Public Schools mission and vision, which reads, DSST Public Schools transforms urban public education by eliminating educational inequity and preparing all students for success in college in the 21st century. Along with our mission, our network also has 6 core values, which some of you may have seen in open house, or if you're a former family, you know these through and through. But those are respect, responsibility, courage, curiosity, integrity, and doing your best. These 6 core values underpin everything that we do in our schools, as well as what your student does when they come home for homework, and as well as your conversations with your student after school. These 6 core values, we live them daily, and sometimes we fall short, but we want to make sure that every day we strive to do our best in these 6 areas. So we're going to start off with a little bit about our school. A lot of you chose our school, and a lot of you decided to stay with us. And so we want to talk a little bit about our school pride. So our Bulldogs will elevate, yes, wordplay on elevate, by exploring new opportunities and experiences that will shape their futures, by building a legacy for years to come, and by being the best versions of themselves for the good of the larger community. This community has already started. We are already building our family in our founding class with relationships. So the picture you see on the screen is a picture of some of our founding teachers and our students who participated in a virtual lunch just to meet and hang out and ask questions, because we feel that building this community and this family doesn't start in August, it starts now. So that was just a fun moment. This is a silly picture, so excuse our faces. And during the school year, you'll continue to see these relationships through advisory, our morning meetings, special events that include you as families, as well as what we do in our school building each day. Our plan is to continue the proud DSST tradition, which is preparing all students for college with a proven model that works. How do we know it works? Well, for the past 12 years now, 100% of DSST students have been accepted to 4-year colleges and universities. And that is not easy, especially for our students and families who are first-generation college attendees. We may not know what to do, but we make sure that we guide and we lead and we support our students to make sure that they have the opportunities that are out there. One thing that I wanted to start off with tonight is some founding class spotlights. So what you see here on your screen is the reason that Elevate exists. As you all know, there was a chance that we may not open next year, but because of you, our families, our community, our brave students who spoke in front of hundreds of people, we were able to advocate and make this a dream come true. And I couldn't be more proud of this founding class and what they're about to bring to Elevate. Now I'll give you a second to look at the pictures. Maybe you see yourself, maybe you see your student, a neighbor, a community member, but we all did this together. This is not Miss Favorite, this is everyone's school. Now we're going to get into a little bit of our academic program. So elevate your academics. This is an overview of our academic programming in 9th grade. So all of our 9th grade class will take their core classes, which include physics, humanities, which is a hybrid of social studies and reading, composition, which is writing, Math 1 or Math 2, depending on what your student took this year. We do have some students that are taking Math 1 currently in 8th grade. We'll have Spanish for native and non-native speakers. So if you already speak Spanish fluently, you will go to our heritage speakers class. If you're like me and you only know a few words, you'll be in Spanish 1. And we're also going to have 9th grade be an exposure year. So instead of students choosing one elective to participate in for the full year, they're going to rotate, because you may not know what you want to do yet. And we think it's very important for you to be exposed to the many opportunities that are there. So we're going to have video production, creative engineering, and a special academic elective, 1, to make up for some of our COVID loss in math, and 2, to push some of our higher kids in financial literacy if they are ready for that next year. So really excited about this exposure year when it comes to electives. There's also going to be some project-based learning opportunities starting this year, but of course more so as we grow out. There'll be some PBL learning in the arts, in entrepreneurship, engineering, in PE, and all students will have the opportunity to take this at some point in their high school trajectory. Next are our interventions. So if you are a current student, you have asked many of times, Miss, is there still going to be refocus in high school? Yes, there will be. However, you will earn it for different things, and we'll go over that a little bit later. But the purpose of our interventions is we hold our students and ourselves to high expectations, behaviorally and academically. Some interventions that help us do this include college prep, which is for homework and classwork, refocus, which is our behavior intervention, mandatory tutoring, which is more academic support, dean interventions, which is a step above refocus, but a little bit more accountability and one-on-one time with the dean, and our makeup days. Each one of our students will receive a laptop. We are one-to-one with laptops. Students will use their laptops in all of their classes. They have had plenty of experience with that for the past year and a half or so with COVID. And so even if you're not coming from a DSST school where we have used laptops throughout middle school, you're pretty familiar with it now in the virtual space. Students will take these laptops home every day and they are responsible for them. So consider your laptop your little baby that you are responsible for taking care of. And if something happens to it, it is going to be on you. This is a quick overview of what courses could look like across 9th through 12th grade, although we'll only have one grade level this year. I'll give you a second to look at that. As you can see, starting in 10th grade, there'll be some opportunities for AP classes. And what that means is that students, you have a chance to start taking some of your college courses. And families, it means that you can save some money because in college, every course costs dollars. So if you can get some of those out of the way in high school, you ultimately save your parents some money and you have the opportunity to graduate college a semester or two early. On the left, you'll see a sample bell time that is based on some older times when we were back in full person, but just for an idea that you can have that. Our normal schedule will be 8 to 3:20. 8 to 3:20 is going to be our times. And if you have one of those interventions that we mentioned, you will be at school until 4:20. That is also time for us to have after school clubs. So it's not necessarily an academic or behavior intervention. It could be a sports practice or a club that you are involved in as well. On Wednesdays, we'll have early dismissal, similar to the middle school, where students will leave at 1:30. However, teachers will be in professional development, getting better for you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about our school culture. I think this is the most important part of the night, especially if you're a middle school student currently, because this is the most change from middle school to high school. So sports and clubs, we will only have one grade level next year, but we do plan to have sports for you all. So boys and girls soccer, boys and girls volleyball, boys and girls basketball are the sports that we plan to start off with. However, if there's a sport that we do not offer, your student is able to play at their neighborhood school or a school close to Elevate and still attend us for academics. If you want more information on that, I know I've been working with several families on this already. Just reach out and I'll help you make that decision. You see that club says loading, and there's a reason for that. We really want our clubs to be students focused and what you all want to do. So I can make all of the clubs and come up with a whole list, but I want it to be something that you all are interested in. And so we will begin to form our clubs as we get closer to the school year and we see what students are interested in. Dress code and electronics policy. Lean in, children, if you are on this call, because these are all the questions that you've been asking, and parents, you probably have these same questions. So students will follow a dress code guidance, which is new for our students who have been in uniforms for the past 3 years. And we want to make sure that we are clear on what that means to be in compliance. Also, students should never have a cell phone out in an academic environment. This means our hallways, our classrooms are no cell phone zones. However, before you enter the school building at arrival, once you exit the school building, and at lunch, this is new. At lunch, you may have your phone, but when lunch is over, your phone needs to be out of sight. As you go into high school, of course, we're going to open things up a little bit, but it is on you to be responsible and use integrity during this time with this newfound freedom. So here's an overview of our uniform guidance. Pretty basic: t-shirts, sweatshirts, sweaters, and blouses. Of course, undergarments need to be covered, shoulders need to be covered, no see-through shirts. For our bottoms, you can have small rips in your jeans, and you may have joggers. However, sweatpants, pajamas, anything that you probably may have slept in is not allowed. And we're going to go over this in a second, so just sit tight. Shoes must be fully covering your foot. So sneakers, flats, athletic shoes, boots, but no sandals, no Crocs, no slippers, no house shoes. We want you to be safe in case of an emergency. We want you to be safe in science class if you're doing a lab, and we want you to be dressed appropriately in what is your job as a high school student. So to be very clear, I have some graphics because this is going to be the thing that has the most questions. So on the left, you see jeans that have rips. The threading is still present. There is little to no skin showing. On the right, you see large holes that can be distracting, exposing a lot of skin. You may wear what's on the left, however, you may not wear what's on the right. If you're ever in doubt, please take a picture, ask questions before coming to school in it, because you will have to call home for a replacement. Joggers. On the left, you see joggers that are made of khaki material. So if you think about the uniform pants that you typically wear, but in jogger form, those are fine. However, we're not wearing sweatpants, so joggers that are made of sweatpant material are not allowed. Again, we want you to wake up. We want you to groom yourself. We want you to get up and get dressed as if you were going to your job, because high school is your job right now. So just to be clear on those two things, that's why we have pictures. Again, if you have any questions, if you're ever in doubt, snap a picture, send it to someone before you come to school, and we'll let you know if it's okay. New Student Academy. So all of these things that I'm talking about may feel like a lot if you're new to DSST. And because of that, we have New Student Academy, which is a 7-day, half-day orientation for you to learn everything about DSST and DSST Elevate. During this time, you'll also begin to build relationships. So a lot of our students are coming from our middle school and know each other, and we recognize that you are new to our family. And so this is a time for you to build those relationships with teachers, start to make friends, and ultimately have fun as you join our community. So there's several ways that students can support one another, that we support students and parents support students. So this portion is going to be about elevating your support. One thing that we usually come and do home visits and have you all sign this, but we will have it inside of our orientation packet that you should have received last week, is our core value pledge. So our students have a pledge as well as our parents, and it goes hand in hand with the commitment that we make to you all as a family. And so this pledge is what you will live by, with very specific examples of how this might look on a day-to-day basis. So for example, we might say, we want to see you show integrity as a student. But what does that look like? One example of what that looks like is interacting with others in productive and positive ways that build trust. So can we trust you when you're in the hallway by yourself? Can we trust you to interact or have decent conversations with your peers that are appropriate for school? Parents, you have a pledge too, because this is a partnership and a commitment that we make to one another. And so if we say, we want to see our family show integrity, an example of that might be to communicate directly and honestly and interact with others in a productive and positive way that builds trust. We want to work with you, right? And so we know that when we interact with one another, it's going to be positive, even if we may not agree at the time, so that we can come to a solution. Our attendance policy. Many of our students will be taking our bus system, but for those who are not and your parents are dropping you off, this is again another partnership. It is very important that our students are at school each day and on time. If not, we begin to get into this thing that I know none of us will have to worry about, but I will go over just in case. When your student reaches a certain number of absences, there are certain actions that we take. So 5 absences, you will receive a warning letter. 10 means that we're going to have to come up with a plan. What time are you waking up? What are you doing at night to prepare? How can we get you to school each day? And then 15 absences, unfortunately, does go a little bit further above us with truancy. And parents, you don't want to get to that level because it does involve court. And as the guardian, it falls on you as your student is a minor. So we're not going to get to that point, but just want to make sure that everyone is clear on that as we go into a new school year. Academic support and feedback. It is important, especially in high school, especially in this transition year, that families know how to support their students or what we're going to do to support academically. So each week, students are going to track their academic and behavior data weekly. So they're going to complete grade reflections with their advisor, and they are going to always know where they stand academically. Progress reports are going to be sent home to you all as families, so checking your email regularly is super important. We use IC, that is what students use to look up their grades, and you also have access to Parent Portal where you can see the same thing. Each student will receive core value grades at the end of every trimester, so those 6 core values that we talked about, your student is going to get a grade, almost like a separate report card just on our core values. And then we have weekly and trimester awards, so your typical award ceremony with honor rolls and distinctives, as well as weekly awards given out by our teachers based on what they've seen in classrooms. Now I am going to pass it over to Ms. Davis to talk about how you can join some of our parent groups.
Yay, okay.
Oops.
So, okay, there we go. So, parent involvement. So at DSST, we have a group called STP. It's called Science and Tech Parents. That is a parent organization that organizes fun events for students and promotes parent involvement in the school. So this picture below is actually an event that we had in 6th grade. We had like a fundraiser. The students raised money. It was a dollar dress down, I believe. And each student that donated $1, they were able to like design a sticker, which is on this like poster here in the background in the photo. And we donated the check to Food of the Rockies on that day. And it was a really fun day. And also the ladies in this photo and some of the students are STP parents. Also, another thing that we did was we had Bulldog Night during the 6th grade, like the founding school year. We had Bulldog Night. It was really fun. So the sign up I will have the sign up like in August. I'm thinking during our back to school night for parents to sign up for that.
Great, thank you, Ms. Davis. We're super excited about our parent involvement. We've already had a parent during our first home visit that is interested in joining. So if that is you, when we have signups, I want to see your name on the list. All right, building updates. Super excited to present this to you all. I know a lot of you may have taken a ride past the building and wondering what those big construction bins are or what this building is going to be. So I have some renderings and drawings and sketches for you all to see tonight, which I'm excited about. So the future home will look a lot like this. This is the big picture. Like it may not look exactly like this, but it'll be very similar to this. So if you don't know, the address is 10825 East 47th Avenue, and construction has begun. So if you drive past, again, you're going to see those big construction bins, and it's because they are on the inside getting it ready. There will be 2 phases to the building. So no, you will not see this beautiful image yet next year because we will only have our 9th grade classrooms ready by August 2021. However, as we're in there, construction will continue to take place. And by August 22, we'll have our full building, including the gym, the field will be ready, the full cafeteria, all of the other spaces will be ready for not only us, but for our middle school to join us as well. Our space meets all of the needs of any of our DSST schools. So myself, some of our student council members, the architects working on this project have worked on other DSST school buildings. And so we will not be lacking anything that we need. If anything, I think we probably got some extra things that some of our other schools don't have, which is really exciting. Transportation, we will still be using the Far Northeast Success Express shuttle route. So if your student took that bus line during middle school, or if you attended a different school and your student took that, that is the same bus shuttle route that we will use at Elevate. Some of the exterior features of our school include hangout areas for students When middle school does join us, their play areas will be separate. So will the building. You can think of the building as being split down the middle, where middle school will be only on one side, high school will be on one side. It's really important to us that students are not seeing their siblings throughout the day, or that they feel like they actually moved up into a different school. So that is the feel that we are going for in Elevate. Some of our interior features include some modern finishes with industrial elements. The gym is probably going to be a lot of students' favorite space. A full cafeteria, art labs, a college success office, so a place that is really centered around getting students ready for college. And number one priority is building safety. So just like the middle school, no one can just walk into the building. Everyone has to be buzzed in. All of our exterior doors will be locked at all times to ensure top-notch safety. One thing that I do want to highlight in the picture are those small, what looks like conference type areas where people can have small meetings. That is something that will only exist on the high school side. We thought that that was very important for students to have a place to work in small groups, whether it's before school, after school, during class time. Teachers can send students to these small spaces, and that is something unique that we wanted in the high school space as they got older. Again, I went over this a little bit, but just to reiterate, this small portion of the school is what's going to be ready for us next year, which includes 8 classrooms, a commons area with an eating space, our admin offices, restrooms, and our tech support. Again, all of that white space will still be getting worked on, but it's going to be great, and it's going to feel nice and cozy for our founding year. I'm super excited about it. So there's some next steps. So I'll let Ms. Davis take over again and tell you about these important dates that are coming up.
Okay, so online registration, which is required for every student. I just want to make sure that all parents know that even if your student is attending Knoll currently as an 8th grader, this process is something that still has to be completed every school year. This is like your actual registration. The only difference is you're able to complete this earlier now in the school year. The window will close on May 21st, and if I'm sure you've been receiving emails from me already, but if for some reason you're having any issues getting into IC or to Parent Portal, please let me know. Please call the number and I will walk you through all the steps to make sure we're able to complete the registration for next school year, which is in August. Let's see. New Student Academy is going to be for new to DSST students only, and it's going to be June 14th through the 22nd from 8 to 11:30, and then they're going to have interventions until 12. Dress code is going to be required, and no school supplies. They won't have to bring any school supplies. We will provide them. First day of school is on August 18th, 8 to noon, and it's going to be a half day.
All right, thank you, Ms. Davis. Just to reiterate a little bit on the first day of school, the reason that is a half day is because our summer orientation is only for our new to DSST students, but all of our students are new to high school. And so we want to make sure we ease in and get to know the culture and the systems of high school. And so that first day of school won't really be an academic day. It'll be a culture day for all of our students to learn the system, learn the building a little bit, get to know their teachers, because this will be their first time meeting them. And so again, that time is subject to change either on the back end or the front end, but we'll let you know as we get closer to that time. But just know that all of our students will be oriented on August 18th. Before we get into questions, we want to make sure that, again, if you are here tonight, maybe you joined us late, that you dial 970-460-6388 and text your child's full name so that we know that you are in attendance tonight. Or if you are watching the recording of this, make sure that you do the same. It is important for us to know who has seen all of these things, and if you haven't, we can go ahead and get this information out. Or if you know a family that hasn't attended or watched, let us know, because it is a part of your onboarding to high school. So we have reached the questions and answers portion. There might be something that I did not cover or something you want clarity on. So now the chat box is open. Please type your message. And if we do not get to your question tonight, we will follow up with you. We can see who typed each question. We'll follow up with you via email or phone call. All right, question about the school bus. Ms. Davis, I'm going to let you answer that one. The question is, how will I know if my daughter qualifies to use the school bus?
So all of our students, all of our DPS students, or all of our DSST students, they qualify for the bus. It is ran by through DPS. We use their transportation services. So how it works is it's basically like a shuttle. It picks up from the different schools. So once we get the schedule that will be coming out here, hopefully in July, we'll be sending that out, and then you'll be following um, you'll follow that, and it'll let you know what stop, like what's your closest school that you'll be that your student will walk to, and then that's how you'll know how they'll get on the bus.
Great. Next question is, can we leave? Yes, you are welcome to leave. That is the end of the presentation. But if you have questions, you might want to stick around. Maybe you don't have a question, but someone might ask something that you're interested in hearing. So feel free to stick around. But also, if you need to leave, the presentation is over. But this is time for you to ask questions that you might have that are lingering. Great. What time are students supposed to arrive? So school starts at 8, which means that we take attendance starting at 8, which also means your student needs to be in their seat at 8, not walking through the door. So doors will open at 7:45, and during that time, students can grab breakfast, they can mingle with their friends, but at 8 o'clock on the dot, students need to be in their seat. That is what time we are going to take attendance. So 7:45 for door opening, and then 8 for actual attendance. Anything after 8 is considered tardy if you are not in your classroom. Is Spanish going to be the only language? Yes. So for right now, Spanish will be the only language. However, if you already speak Spanish, you won't take Spanish 1. You'll take a heritage Spanish class, which means that you speak and read Spanish already fluently, and then you'll have the opportunity to take AP Spanish, again, and start to earn your college credits. In college, you're also going to need foreign language credits. So you have a little bit of an advantage there where you can start to earn some of your college credits in your foreign language. But you do need foreign language to graduate, and right now Spanish is the only one that we have to offer. Great question. So the question is, what is the earliest that students are able to be dropped off outside the school? And is there a time the students have to leave campus by if the student is not involved in any after school activities and sports? Very good question. So we are responsible, or we have teachers or admin on duty 15 minutes before school and 15 minutes after. So school starts at 8. At 7:45, that's when we will have supervision outside, but not before that time. The same thing after school. School is over at 3:20. We will have someone out until 3:35, and then again at 4 until 4:35. So 15 minutes on each end is what is supervised. If you do drop your student off before then, that is completely fine. They will not be allowed to come into the building until 45, and there will not be any adults out there until 45. And the same thing after school. If you cannot be there at 3:20 on the dot and they're not involved in anything, they do need to exit the building unless they're there for an intervention or sports, but there'll only be someone on duty for 15 minutes after dismissal time. All right, next question. Do we get to pick our classes? So in 9th grade, there are core classes that you have to take, and this is everywhere in America. However, there are some electives that you may have heard some of your friends talking about picking. The difference with us is that in your first year, you're going to take every elective. So there's not really anything to choose just yet, because you are literally going to take every class that we have to offer. From core classes to electives, you are going to be exposed to it. As we continue to grow our school out and add more electives, then you will start to get more choice. Or when we start to add AP classes next year and in 11th and 12th grade, you will begin to start choosing more of your classes because not everyone's going to take AP classes or not everyone is going to be interested in creative engineering. And so the choice will begin to come after you've been exposed this year to see what it is that you want to do. So choice is coming and classes are coming, but this first year you are literally going to take everything that we have to offer. Got it. Amanda, there's a question. Well, there's a question coming, but I'm going to answer this one first. Are we going to have a locker? Yes, as long as nothing changes with COVID, or not for the worse anyway. If things get better, we will have lockers in the building. The only way we won't use them is if something with COVID related guidelines says that we can't. But yes, you will have lockers. And I know we miss lockers. You've been having to carry everything around, but we will have lockers in the building. We will have lockers this first year as well. The question, Amanda, is we live in High Point, Aurora, which is above Green Valley Ranch. Will there be bus service?
I don't think so, just because it's in Aurora, but I would like to just make sure, if you don't mind just letting me know maybe what your name is, and then I can follow up with you just to confirm with you, but I don't believe so.
Got it. Thanks. Next question, why will high school and middle school be combined in one building if there already is a building for middle school students? Great question. So ideally, most of our DSST middle schools and high schools are in the same campus unless they just can't fit. Right now, as you all know, we share our middle school building, or maybe you don't know, with a district school, with a district high school. And so ideally, we would love for our school to be in one building just for that community, for the matriculation, for our families who have students in middle and high school, not having to go to two different locations. And that just didn't work out for the district building that we're in currently. Where the high school is going to be is a DSST building. It's not a DPS building. And so the building is actually big enough for all of us to live on one campus, which is the traditional DSST feel anyway, unless one of our middle schools is on a campus where the high school just cannot fit. There are some instances of that with like Conservatory Green. If you're familiar with that campus, they are not on the same campus, but anytime our schools can fit in the same building, that is the idea, that the middle school and high school share the building. But again, the building is big enough and we are designing it to where it feels separate. Like there's not going to be a middle school classroom next to a high school classroom. The bell times are different. And so it does still feel like two separate schools, but it is one giant building. Does my daughter need a letter of recommendation if she has A's currently in any subject so she can be enrolled into more advanced classes? Great question. So if you are coming from an outside school, when your daughter comes to our summer academy, we will do some testing. Right now, this year, the only class that we'll have that's advanced is Math 2 Honors. And so she can take that math test that we're going to give. And if she is ready for Math 2 Honors and has the skills that she needs to be enrolled in that class, we will for sure do that for her. But we'll test any non-DSST students that are coming in over the summer during summer academy. That is also something we do during that time to kind of see where they are academically. Great question. So yes, so supplies, you don't need any supplies for Summer Academy because Summer Academy is going to be held on our Green Valley Ranch campus. Our building won't be ready in June. And so we're going to be on someone else's campus. So we don't want you all to bring a bunch of supplies because we really don't have anywhere to put it just yet. And so we're going to supply what you need for those 7 days, which won't be much. It'll be a folder, some pencils, things to write with. So you don't need anything for those 7 days. You will need supplies for the regular school year. So I don't want us to confuse those two things. You don't need it for those 7 days. However, there is a list that will be in the orientation packet for the school year supplies. And we will take those and have those at our Elevate building once we're in there in August. Can we eat off campus? The answer is no. You all are 9th graders and you are not that old, so we will not be walking anywhere or getting picked up to go anywhere for lunch. It is 30 minutes. And so, no, we will not be eating off campus. However, we may do some fun things like have a food truck maybe once a month or do some initiatives, but for safety reasons, as well as time sake, we will eat on campus in 9th grade. Another bus question. We live near the DSST Mott View. Will there be bus service for us?
I would say yes, but I think it's best for us just to wait until we get the schedule from DPS. That way we know exactly what stops and what times that they're going to be stopping at. And also that's for the other question that asked if the closest, there's another question in there. So yeah, I say for transportation, I think the safest thing for us to do is just to wait until we get the schedule. And I'll be sure to send that out. As soon as we get it, I will be sending that out to all parents, all families.
Well, yeah, I think they're asking, and that's the parent that asked about Aurora. They're saying if not, they would just want to know where the closest one is in Green Valley to be able to just like bring them to that one. Great. We still have about 18 more minutes for any questions that you all still have. Trying to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Ms. Favorite, I have a text that came through on the phone asking a question.
Okay.
Yeah, it says, are the students going to have music classes?
Yeah, so not this first year. This first year we have creative engineering, video production, and then financial literacy or like a math enrichment elective. But if music is something that students show interest in, we might have music, we can have theater, computer science. It just depends on how we decide to continue to build out our elective program after this first year. But in this first year, there'll only be those 3, as we will only have 150 students. So we won't have a ton to offer, but those will continue to expand as we grow out. And to add on to that, there'll also be opportunities for clubs. So if a student is into a particular thing like piano or drums, we can have that as a club until we get a full program as an elective, if that's something they're interested in. Where do you get the information of school buses? So it's not, I'm not sure that it's out just yet. Ms. Davis is going to send it as soon as we get it. We usually get everything first. As soon as we get it, we will let you all know. We are a new school, which means that they created a route for us and they're still finalizing some times for our stops. And so as soon as we get that, we'll get it out to you. We just want to make sure that the times are right and that they're aligned to our bell times and our school times so that you all are not waiting too long for buses in the morning or the afternoon. So as soon as we get those, we'll send them out to you.
I have another question. The student is, I think it's a student, I'm not sure. They're just asking like, how is lunch gonna work? They're wondering like if they're gonna be able to be on the basketball court or how long their lunch is gonna be.
Yeah. Great question. I'm just glad they didn't say how long is recess. So something else that's a little different in high school is that there is no like lunch and recess time. It's just one block. So lunch is about 30 minutes. And in those 30 minutes, you can choose to eat food. You can choose to hang out with friends. You can choose to eat and hang out. There's not going to be a ton of space. Remember, they're still going to be working on a lot of our school in this first year, but there are some outside tables and benches that you all will be able to sit at. There's a little small grass area if you all want to hang out there. You can choose to eat indoors. We'll have supervision in multiple places. But again, those 30 minutes, think about it as kind of like your free time or your free period where you can choose. There's not, you have to sit in the cafeteria for 15 minutes. You have to go outside. That time is your lunch block to kind of do whichever decision you make out of the options that are provided. Now, whatever you want, but you can eat or hang out with your friends. There's another question about students being able to run their own club. We empower students to run their own club. Now, each club is going to need an adult that supervises it, but we want our kids to be the founders, the presidents, the starters and innovators of our clubs. And so that's why we don't have a list of clubs yet. We want to see what our students want. We want them to come up with it. Basically, they are running their club with an adult supervisor. That is the idea. Will we be required to wear a mask? I will say right now, yes, just because like masks are the foreseeable future, but we will follow whatever the guidelines are. So we're not going to go against guidelines or do anything that is against what is out there for the public to do as a whole, our network to do as a whole. And so if that is what's required, then yes. I'll also say if we're not required to and your student still wants to wear one because that's what they're comfortable in, I don't see why we wouldn't allow them to do that. It just depends on where we are in August. As you know, things change each and every day. We get better, the numbers go up again. And so it is our hope that we can get back to as much normalcy as possible. But with masks, it's one of those things that we'll just have to see where the state of the virus is at the time. Will there be more freedom with student-run clubs the further students get into high school? Yes, and I guess I would want to know a little bit more about the freedom of a student running a club. Again, we want students to pretty much run their club, but for safety reasons, as well as to make sure that things are going smoothly, we do have to have an adult that is a supervisor of the club to know what's going on. If the students need anything, whether it's to purchase anything or brainstorm anything, we do have to have an adult that's connected to the club. In no way do we want to take away from their ideas or tell them how to run the club, but we do have to make sure that it is within the guidelines of whatever our clubs are and making sure that they have a contact person should anything come up. But we do want our clubs to be student-led, if that makes sense. Student-led, but of course having an adult supervisor to support, if that clears it up a little bit better. Will students need to pay for school lunch? So students will fill out their lunch application for free and reduced lunch. And based on what your status is with that application, that will determine if your student has free lunch or reduced lunch or full price lunch. And Amanda, can you remind families when they would fill out that lunch application?
Yeah, so the lunch applications, they're going to be, you will complete those, I believe, in July or in August. Right now, when you're completing your early bird registration, it is going to ask you on there to complete your lunch application. But since we are in school, DSST Elevate is not going to be on the list yet. So, and also that's also for the current school year that we're in right now. So just skip that part. You'll do your lunch application in July or in August. And I will be sending emails just to let you guys know that it's time to start filling those lunch applications out.
All right, next question. Is there someone we could communicate to see if a certain club can be offered? Sure. Feel free to email me. Ms. Davis, if you can type my email up in the chat box, you can email me. We can begin to talk about clubs as early as tomorrow. Yeah, I'm open to hearing what those suggestions are. I'm assuming that this may be a non-DSST student. If you are a no middle school student, feel free to catch me tomorrow or send me a message on Teams. But if not, feel free to email me your idea. I'm happy to hear it and see what it is. And I'm also glad that you're excited about clubs already. It's great to see and hear. All right, we have about 10 minutes left for questions, wonderings. Any thoughts? Would clubs be run after school, and what would the time limit be to present inside the school? So yes, again, the second dismissal is at 4:20. So you have about an hour for after school clubs. However, we recognize that some kids just can't stay after school. And so to be equitable and to be fair, some of our clubs may decide to meet during lunch. We might have some clubs that meet, every other week. I think we want our clubs to be flexible and fair and equitable for all of our students to be able to participate. And so after school is the typical club time, but there's definitely flexibility to have clubs at different times during the day or on special days of the week, whatever the club decides as their meeting time and what works best for the people in the club. And the time limit after school, so for clubs, is 4:20, unless the club is doing something special or some after school event that requires them to stay a little bit later, then we would definitely make accommodations for that and put in requests for that. But just so that our students who take buses home, I can't guarantee that there will be buses that run past that time. And so we want to make sure that clubs end at a time that students can still take the second dismissal bus home. Again, these buses are not Elevate buses, they are the DPS shuttle. And so we don't control those times and we don't want anyone to, miss their ride home. So 4:20 with some exceptions by request. Will parents be able to enter the building? Our building is typically pretty open. Again, COVID restricts some of that. I think that we are getting to a place where parents are coming into buildings now, filling out our health screener, making sure that they are healthy before they enter. Again, can't really speak too much about next school year yet, depending on what the guidelines are. But speaking from a typical school year, parents are welcomed. We want you to be there. You're a part of our community. And so you would just have to check in with the front office and sign in so that we know you're there. And then whatever you're trying to do, if it's observe a class, then we'll have someone come with you and escort you there. But yes, parents on a typical basis are allowed in our building unless COVID guidelines restrict us from doing so. Are there certain locations where juniors and seniors from this school get an opportunity to do an internship? All of our students will complete an internship. They vary, and so a lot of our other DSST schools have partnerships with businesses already, and so we will definitely work with our other schools to see things that they have done, as well as create our own partnerships when that time comes. So definitely look forward to that in your junior year. All students will complete an internship, and we will work to match them and make sure that they're doing something that they're interested in and hopefully in their career field that they aspire to get in. And if you have any ideas or know any partnerships, definitely send them our way. Will swimming be a future optional class? Our school will not have a pool. I wish they did. I don't know how to swim myself, but we will not have a pool at our campus. So that will not be an option. But again, when we think about classes or electives that may not be options, we can always dream big and talk about clubs. If we can partner with a local swim club that's willing to have us, come in and do a partnership with them, it's always an opportunity for us to do things outside of school. And so while the answer is no for a class, I don't want us to say it's no totally, because we can always think of other creative ways to make that a part of our community program. Great questions. All right, we have about 5 minutes remaining. Again, if we don't get to your questions, please email us, call us. We're always available to answer. And if we don't have the answer to your question, we are more than willing to find out the answer for you and get back to you. All right, question. Will LGBT students be accepted in this community? 100%. That is not even a question. Of course, everyone is accepted in our community. Our middle school currently has a Spectrum Leap Club that students were interested in starting and got backed by several of our staff members. And so I don't even want you to think that that's a question. Everyone is accepted fully. And whatever we can do to support you or your friends or anything is definitely welcomed in our community. So yes, the answer is yes, capitalized with an exclamation point. Will it be fully in person? That information is also coming soon. Again, things are changing every day. I think it is the hope of every school across America to be able to be fully in person. I can say that I'm not sure if hybrid is going to be an option or if families will have to decide if they want to be virtual, then they have to attend school in a different way with a different school. But all of that information will be coming soon. It is more than likely that if things remain the same with vaccines and now 12 and up will be offered the vaccine here soon, if not already, then it is highly likely that we will be fully in person. But again, that information, as soon as we get it, you'll get it. And we'll have details if you're not comfortable coming in person, what your options are. And if you are, then we'll just see you in person in August. Will and how will discriminatory behavior be punished? Um, Very great question. Several ways I can answer it. The one thing that I do want to say is we try not to be punitive necessarily. Like, yes, there are consequences for behaviors, but what's more important to us is that students learn from their actions. And so depending on situations, we do follow the DPS discipline ladder matrix. And so that kind of guides us on how consequences are delivered. But something that's really important to us when we think about that refocus intervention that I talked about, as well as the dean's intervention, which is like 2 hours long on early release day, is that we sit with our students, we work with our students, and that they learn from what they're doing. Studies have shown suspending students or just sending them home for a few days, they don't learn anything from that. A lot of our students are home alone during the school day. And so that is not what we see as a consequence. Like, yes, they're not in our environment. However, they're not learning anything. And so every situation is kind of case by case, depending on what it is. But just know that we do take all of those things seriously. And a part of our, I don't want to say punitive system, but a part of our discipline system, our behavior system, is that students are learning and that they're restorative and that we have conversations and discussions with students in addition to whatever the actual consequence may be. But great question. In the following years, are there going to be field trips out of Colorado? I would love to do that. I've had experience doing college trips with my students in Louisiana where we went to visit schools outside of the state. And so those are really fun and eye-opening. Some of our schools have taken students to other countries, believe it or not. It just depends on what type of clubs and things you get involved in. And so the answer to that is yes, there will be opportunities. It may not be a yearly thing and it may not be all of our students, but there will be opportunities for things like that to take place. I've seen some pictures and opportunities from some of our other campuses where students have taken trips that I haven't even taken as an adult. So definitely opportunity. The question is, will there be the option if a student feels sick and would like to just do remote for the day? Can they have that option or will they have to miss a day of school? So currently in the hybrid situation where we do have teachers teaching kids at home and in person, that's an option. If a student is sick, they wouldn't come to school, they would just log in on the computer. However, again, I'm not sure if that type of hybrid option is going to be available next year. If we move to full remote, there will be no one to like proctor a class online and your student would just have to miss the day like they would in a typical school year. If we are in hybrid, that is an option where your student could just stay home and log on the computer. We just don't know quite yet. Okay, we are at 6. I want to make sure that we end on time. I know this video is a little delayed, so you might hear this a little after 6. But if you have any further questions, please reach out to us via email, call our school phone. If you don't know that number, you can call our middle school phone. We are still working in our middle school building right now, and Ms. Davis will be happy to help you. Again, if there's something that we cannot answer for you at the time, we'll get the answer and get back to you. No question is too much for us. So thank you all. Have a great night, and we will see you soon.